Okay, management. What do you want to look at for management? First, I want to look at stability, right? And also innovation quotient. Stability first. In fact, stability is it's a bit like Singapore. Singapore, I said, our founding father, Lee Kuan Yew, is able to build Singapore to where it is today. Yeah, because he has the stability. He has a long reign to be able to fulfill his vision to build up Singapore. Can you imagine if Lee only had a 4-year term and then somebody else needs to come in? He wouldn't have the time to build up the vision he had for Singapore. Yeah, of course, that being said, it's very important to have a good leader at the helm if it's going to be a long-term management. Okay. Secondly, innovation quotient. As I shared about just now, today, if the management does not want to innovate, in fact, they are waiting for their demise. Because it's a matter of time, I think the business will be disrupted. So it's important for the leader of the company to be able to be innovative, to want to innovate, to stay hungry at this time. Okay, let's look at Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft from the day it started in 1975 to today has only 3 CEOs. Of course, the first CEO is the founder, Bill Gates himself. For a good 25 years, he was the CEO. And then he handed over the hot seats to Steve Ballmer. And he was on that seat for 14 years. Also a pretty long time. Okay, and in 2014, he handed over to Satya Nadella, the current CEO of Microsoft. So I think, this reasonably long or pretty long reign of the CEO actually give them time to realize the vision for the company. And what's the vision of Satya Nadella? Okay, let's look at it. So Satya Nadella actually tripled Microsoft's stock price in just over 4 years. In fact, in Steve Ballmer's years, Microsoft actually was quite stagnant. It didn't decline, but it didn't grow very much either. So when Satya Nadella made his first appearance as the new CEO of Microsoft in 2014, he did something very unusual for the leader of a software company. He made an announcement on day one. The world is about cloud first, mobile first. And he never mentioned Windows one time. Can you imagine that? The flagship Windows, he didn't mention it at all. So it's basically about saying he hit the refresh button. It can't be just holding on to where Microsoft was dominant in the operating system and in Microsoft Office. He wanted to refresh Microsoft. And remember Microsoft also bought over Nokia and wanted to go into the handphone, which today, of course, have written down the entire business segment. So I think in Satya Nadella's time, he transformed Microsoft. And not just in terms of the business model. Satya Nadella also built a new culture for Microsoft, which again, I think this is very soft factors, but it's actually very important to look at for a company. To thrive in the time of disruption and innovation, the culture of the company needs to fit. If it's a bureaucratic culture, if it is a my way or the highway kind of culture, it's hard to be surviving or thriving in this time. So Satya Nadella, he embraced open source development. Okay, what is open source? Open source means you lay your programming code out, and then people can actually look at the code and improve on the code. To be using, so it's called open source. In the past, it was not like that. So that under Satya Nadella's time, he actually embraced it. Secondly, partnership with competitor. So during his time, he ditched the developing of handphones. When they bought over Nokia. So he said, no, we are not good at this. Let's not try to do something we are lousy at. In fact, he then collaborated with Apple to allow Microsoft's application to be used on Apple. So again, it's a collaboration mindset rather than a competitor mindset. And thirdly, empathy. This is what I read. Where Microsoft used to have the my way or the highway because they're so dominant. But now they wanted to listen to the customers, and then to give what they want. In fact, personally, just to sidetrack a little bit, even in my company, Unicorn, it's the same thing. I think in about 2015 or 16, I saw a radical shift in our culture as well. Yeah, we stopped, I would say, relying just internally on our internal resource. Yeah, we started more and more forming communities to say work with, collaborate with other partners, yeah, external consultants. And from then to today, I really see that how our company has benefited so much from this collaboration, yeah, that we can tap on and leverage on the wisdom, the expertise outside. Yeah. And I think this is the way to go really for the era ahead. So yeah, Satya Nadella changed, or say refreshed the business model and also the culture. Which is why he managed to get the results Microsoft gets, the last few years. Let's look at the financials. The financials, I look at two main things. Of course, these are not the only thing I look at, but I say because there's not enough time, I'll just look at the gist of it. Okay, I like to look at growth because we're looking at structural growth company. So growth is very important. And secondly, profitability. Okay, this is Microsoft's operating profit trend over the last 10 years. As I shared with you, so Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014. But why? It took quite a few years for the inflection point to happen. The inflection points only took place in 2017. Okay, you'll make a guess first. Later on, I will share why. But you can think about it first. So for a good many years, from Steve Ballmer's year to the initial years of Satya Nadella, in fact, Microsoft's profit has been pretty stagnant. But however, their dividends per share has been gradually growing. Okay, so Microsoft dividends payout, they pay out about 1/3 of their earnings as dividends. And the dividends annual growth rate is about 15%. If you look at this line, what this means is, well, if Microsoft continue to increase their dividends at this rate, the dividends payout will grow 4 times 10 years later. So that's a pretty fast rate of growth. Because I also see, no industry grows forever. So cloud industry today, I look at it as a late teenagers or an early young adults. Someday you'll become a mature adult. Growth is going to slow down. So if you own Microsoft, let's say for the long term, in the longer horizon, it could become a dividend machine for you. After you've been growing, so based on the price you've been paying, you could be collecting pretty handsome dividends, year in, year out, in a much longer future. So that's about the dividends of Microsoft. Okay, next, I split it up into 3 main business segments of Microsoft. The blue one talks about productivity and business processes. Okay, this one basically is about enterprise space, the Windows, the Office applications, the enterprise resource system, for enterprise. That's the blue line. Okay, the red one is the cloud business. And the green line is about personal computing, like the Xbox, our personal Windows, Office, that's the green line. So if you look at it, it was not a continuous growth. In fact, we also saw an inflection point very recently, just about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. Okay. Then we also look at the segment's operating profit margin. Okay. So you can look at, in the past, Microsoft's profit margin was about 39%. And then subsequently, in 2014, when Satya Nadella took over, the profit margin actually dropped from 39 to 32 to 30%. Why? Interesting, huh? Again, the inflection point is 2017. Okay, so I think let's look at what somebody, what do people guess? Why did the inflection point? Only Mr. Assad answered. So Mr. Assad said it took time to change the culture of the organization. Possibly. However, one main thing, and this is the same for all cloud industries, okay, at least all those that I've seen, for all cloud companies. I'll give you an analogy. Okay, because in the past, You still remember? I still remember, I need to go to popular bookstore to actually spend about, $400-500 to buy the Microsoft operating system plus the Microsoft Office. Who has got such experience before? You need to buy the just now what I showed. You need to buy the licensed software, which costs about, I went to check the internet just yesterday. I think it costs about $500 to $600 to buy the entire suite of operating system plus their Microsoft Office, about $500-600. Once you go on the subscription mode of Microsoft 365, guess what is the monthly subscription? Do you all know? Anybody is a user of Microsoft 365, which is their online subscription model? It's $10. It's actually $10 per month. So a year is $120. So for example, if today I'm a first-time adopter of Microsoft 365, so instead of buying that new Microsoft Office, I subscribe. Immediately on my day one, Microsoft actually loses revenue because instead of collecting $500-600 from me buying that software off the shelf, I'm only paying $120 the first year. So at the start, when cloud business got started, actually the cloud loses revenue. Not because it loses its customer, but because of the revenue model. Okay, but however, the latest version of Microsoft Office is Microsoft 2019. Before that was 2016 model, 2016 version. So however, when you have software package, you don't change it every year, nor will people buy every year. You buy every few years. That means that revenue is lumpy. It's not every year. However, when it's on a subscription model, Microsoft collects that every year. So this, as people move to subscription, the revenue will come down first. But this base will actually snowball over time because every month, every year, they need to be paying. So there's this message called what is called inflection point. Inflection point means the pivot point, the point where it starts to change direction. Okay, so I'll say that if I look at it, it probably take at least if a package software is $500-600, and then the subscription is $120, it takes about 4 to 5 years, for this cloud subscription to start before it matches the revenue before the subscription model. That's why you see from 2014, it was actually quite flat. And in the last couple of years, we started to see this snowball effect from the subscription base. And I think it's just the start of it. I read Larry Ellison from Oracle. He said that the cloud model is not any less profitable than licensed software. It's as profitable. If what Larry Ellison said is true, that means we should expect to continue the profit margin to continue rising from here, to match back at least the 39%. But the good thing about a sticky model, for example, if I used to use this Office 97. But so Microsoft can have new version, but I could still, if I'm happy with the basic function, I could still continue using my Excel 97, even when Microsoft come out with new version. That means what happens for a consumer like me in the past, Microsoft would lose business because I don't upgrade as their new version comes out. But once a person is on subscription model, is paying a little every month, and he doesn't have a choice not to upgrade, because the upgrade is automatic, and hence become much more sticky. And that is really the power of this subscription model, cloud-based subscription model. So today, I think we are just at the early phase of this inflection point. So if what I analyze is true, Microsoft's revenue and the profit margin should continue to move northwards in the years to come. So I think this is again brings optimism to me about Microsoft's future. And Microsoft get a tailwind from this COVID-19. So this is what the CEO mentioned in the last earnings release in April. So he mentioned Microsoft growth accelerates as pandemic boosts cloud business. And it says 2 years worth of digital transformation has occurred in 2 months. Because it breaks our habits It forces us to go online. People like me, who is a bit of a dinosaur in terms of adoption of technology. Yeah. So because of that, it's accelerated the growth of Microsoft. Again, this is another plus point, a tailwind for Microsoft from the COVID-19 issue.